so I'll have this to send to share with everybody else. Good morning, Stella Lamb Gardner Webb. This is 731 Consultancy. I want to make sure that I cover everything this morning. Let's see. So everybody should have gotten an email. I'm sure people are busy today. The purpose of the consultancy is for me to work with you on your consultancy project. So to that end, let me start with the overview of the program and make sure everybody understands. You're going to have classes for 3 years, 9 semesters, and that includes each semester you will have consultancy. So you say, well, what am I supposed to do in consultancy? Well, if we go and we look at the syllabus for this semester, now remembering this would be if we were in a normal semester. So the student learning outcomes for this semester in terms of consultancy are to partner with an organization facing a significant organizational change. Now, I talked with Angela last night. You need to partner with an organization. Now, it can be your church. Church is a good one. We normally tell you don't partner with your church, but you can, or the organization that you work with. So like Angela's retired, you can find a nonprofit in your community to partner with. We want you to have a mentor at that job site, but you need to partner with a nonprofit organization and to work with them on some significant challenge that they have. Angela was talking about writing a grant. Well, if they've got a significant challenge, writing a grant would be a good thing to do to help them get some resources for that challenge. So for this semester, mostly what I'm most concerned with is that you find an organization to partner with. But as I told you when we met face to face, you got to kind of figure out what you want to do and then find an organization that you can do that with. One of the worst mistakes that we get is folks say, well, I want to go work. I'll just use off the top of my head since I have nothing else on the top of my head. Let's say I want to partner with United Way. But when you get there, they want you to do fundraising, and what you want to do is organizational development or board development. So make sure that when you're partnering with this organization, what they have you to do is something that you want to do. You want to work with staffing, professional development. You want to work with budget, or make sure that you're compatible with what they need help with is something that you want to do. So your first task is to partner with an organization, and then milestone 1 is create a statement of purpose. What are you going to do for them? What's your purpose in being there? What are you going to do for them? So that's your first 2 things. That's milestone 1. Now, as we've said, you've got milestones 2 and 3 this semester because we're out of sequence. And so let's look at milestones 2 and 3. So first thing we do is we find an organization to partner with that has a significant need that we can help with. We define the purpose of why we're there. So that's the first one. Develop a detailed statement of purpose of the project. Clear and comprehensive problem statement, why they have a compelling need, as well as provide background information on the institution. That's all there is to do in milestone 1. I'm going to work with United Way. They need help in fundraising because they have a compelling. They have more people in the community needing money and services than they can provide. They need help with fundraising, or they need help with board development. This is what they have, and this is what I'm going to try to do for them. And then the second thing to do this semester is your milestone 2. Again, normally we do it in the second semester, but since you're starting off cycle, you need to go ahead and do your SMART goals for your the deliverables, what you expect to be able to do for them. All right. And so if we go back and look at our consultancy shell, you will see that I have under consultancy project information, I have SMART goals for you. And it's a template. So can't be any easier than this. Okay. And it's a little example. If you're not familiar with SMART goals, I've got a PowerPoint here that explains it to you, what they are, why you use them, and how do you write them. And you just follow through this, and it's a template for you on your SMART goals. I won't go through all the slides this morning, but normally you would do this, and this would be one semester, but again, it won't be that hard to do this. I mean, to work through this. So this is milestone 2, is develop your SMART goals. Okay, so we find an organization, we partner with that organization, we determine what need they have, we write that up as goal milestone 1, the purpose. And then when we get that done, we do our SMART goals, specifically what we're going to try to achieve for them. It's got to be measurable. I'm going to raise $100,000. That's pretty measurable. It's attainable, results-oriented, and time. We're going to do it in this time frame. So that's milestone 2. And then when we get that one done, we'll do milestone 3. Go back to our milestones. Develop the scope, boundaries, organizations, and systems impacted. It is critical to identify and document the elements that are in the scope and also that are explicitly outside of the scope of the project. A diagram quite often aids in establishing and defining the scope of the project. You know, what are my boundaries? What are my limitations? What is the scope of the project going to be? Making sure that you clearly define your boundaries and scope, that you're going, what the context of what you're going to work with. I'm going to work on board development in this area only. I'm not going to work on the financial part of a board. I'm only going to train them how to do a SWOT analysis. I'm going to train the board how to do a SWOT analysis. You know, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. I'm going to teach them how to do that. That's the scope. I'm not going to get into I'm not going to get into financial decisions or accounting or selection of personnel. I'm not going to do that stuff. We're just going to teach them how to do a SWOT analysis. That would be the scope of your project. Or I'm just going to teach them how to do budgeting. I'm not going to get into personnel. Or I'm just going to do personnel, not going to get into budgeting. You know, define the scope. And see, this is really for you so that you don't end up going here and there and running crazy and trying to do too many things. Define your boundaries, what you're going to do. Here's my goals, and here's the boundaries that I'm going to achieve those goals within. I'm not going to try to do everything for everybody. It's kind of like most pressing need. I'm going to work on their most pressing need. Now, they might have a dozen needs, but I'm only going to work on the one most pressing need. Don't get yourself spread too thin here. I kind of like that we're doing all 3 of these milestones in one semester. Again, common mistakes that students make is they sign on to an organization not knowing what they're going to do, and then they're 2 or 3 semesters in until they realize, well, that's maybe one I wanted to do. And one good thing about doing all of your 3 milestones this semester, at least you know where you're going to do it, what you're going to do, you know, your goals, and the limitations or the scope of the project. You're going to set that all at one time so that you don't end up trying to do too much. That's the biggest problem that I have in consultancy is we sign on and they try to give you every problem they've got. They try to load up on you. I think about one of our colleagues at Gardner Webb that's going through this program right now. He's about through, but he partnered with an organization there in Cleveland County, and they wanted to dump the entire fundraising for the organization on him. The entire fundraising there. I mean, that's a full-time job. I mean, that's a 9 to 5, 12-month job. They want, his idea was, I'll do one event for them. Oh no, we want you to do the whole year. We want you to do all our events. And that's where the conflict arose. You know, he said, I can't get a job for doing this. This is a full-time job. If he had set his scope up front and his goals where I'm going to raise this much money And the scope was, I'm going to do one golf tournament for you, and I'm going to raise $5,000. But when they found out how planned and organized and effective he was, and the business background that he had, oh, we'd like for you to do all our fundraisers. Well, I'd like my hair to grow back. That's not happening either. You know, you can't. This protects you. I mean, I know we want to go out and be servants in our communities, and that's part of this. But you can't be in a situation where you get taken advantage of. I probably shouldn't say it that way, but it's just the truth. This is to protect you, so that you don't go someplace and partner with them and them try to drop all their work, or one of the people in the organization try to drop all their work on you that they're getting paid to do, or that they volunteered for. I just came Thursday night. I just came off a 7-year stint on a board, and I had to stay an extra year to get all my work done. And then I had to find somebody to replace me. So I finally found somebody to replace me on that board. And, you know, and she told me, she said, you know, I'm going to really get this thing organized and get me a lot of help. And I said, good luck to you. You know, so what generally happens in most volunteer organizations, when we have people, we tend to overwork them. You know, I devoted, but thankfully working through Gardner Webb, service to our communities and part of our, as a full-time faculty member, as part of our contract. And so I was able to devote 20 hours a week to that organization. But what if I weren't in a position to do that? And that's generally what happens is most charitable nonprofits, when you start working for them, they'll have more to do than you can get done. And so developing your goals up front, knowing what specifically you want to do for that organization, not everything that they have, one thing, and then developing your goals, and then setting about your scope and boundaries so that you don't get roped into everything they have to do. You'll be much better off going forward. Now, as a point of clarification, this consultancy, the shell that I have in class, it's only for the milestones. There's no other activities this semester in consultancy other than partnering and doing these first 3 milestones. There's no class activities. And my job is just to make sure that you understand the consultancy and that we kind of get you started in the right track down your consultancy. I'm always available on calls and emails. I'm in 106E Craig Hall. If you're on main campus or near main campus, I'm there every day, Monday through Friday. I'm on campus. Just call and you can come see me face to face, or we can Zoom. You know, we're not in crunch time yet. It's just March the 2nd. But, you know, you need to, within probably the next 4 weeks, and we'll plan to meet again in 4 weeks. You need in 4 weeks to have identified your organization and your purpose. You got 4 weeks to do that, and that'll give you 3 weeks each to do your goals and your limitations, your next 2 milestones. So I want to meet again in 4 weeks. Your task in 4 weeks is to have identified your organization, what their need is, and that need is your purpose. Let me say that again. That need that they have, that critical need that they have, that is your purpose. That is milestone 1. Develop a detailed statement of purpose. Why it is a compelling need to address. The need is the purpose. So next 4 weeks, find the organization, define the purpose, what they need, what you're going to do for them, and then we'll move into SMART goals. And when we come back on, I will sit and go through those more in depth. You should have the organization and your purpose by then in 4 weeks. And then after we do that, we'll come on in 4 weeks after that, and we'll do our boundaries, and we'll be done for the semester. Okay? All right, I'm going to pause and give you a chance to ask me any questions. Does everybody understand what we're doing? Gary, have we got it?
Yeah, I got it. I'm just trying to figure out which organization I'm going to, focus on right now.
Well, you can focus on, one of the things that a lot of folks do is a church, some charitable that they've had experience with in the past.
Okay.
A lot of college people will partner with their college, but just not the department that they work in.
Okay.
I just got off my group of 738s that I have this semester. They're all college people. That's a real neat cohort to have because they have shared experience. Now, one of them is at Gardner Webb, and the rest, all the others, are at community colleges.
Okay.
And so, what to every one of them is partnering with a different division or school within their college, one that they don't work in, and it makes it easy because they come to work every day, and it's convenient. You know.
So let me ask you. So for example, say for example you're in a public school, and you want to focus on maybe a behavior in the school. We can like set up some kind of a program or some sort of I'm not sure how to let me see. Like for example, within certain grades or maybe all grades.
Well,
you can maybe there are certain problems that you can sort of maybe set up some kind of way of dealing with it.
Well,
to assist the teachers, or I don't know, something like that.
Well, I would say this. I wouldn't partner with a public school.
Okay.
That kind
That's a no.
It really is, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
There's a lot that you have to go through to be a volunteer.
Okay.
In public schools, you got to go through the background, the vetting, and all those kinds of things. You probably wouldn't be able to get started with a public school till the fall. They don't take volunteers in the spring generally. Testing will be coming up shortly. And there's nothing wrong with working in a public school other than you would have to get on the agenda, the board being approved, and more than likely it would be August or September before you could start.
Okay, so what if you're already? Well, I was in central office with the public schools, but I'm assisting basically with the some part of the public school right now. Where so I'm basically like in the arena, so to speak.
Yeah,
so,
if you're already in, and you're not going to have to go through the approval process, and I would talk with the people there about. But again, most initiatives won't start again. This is my area.
Yeah.
The initiatives for the year are already planned and executed through the budget, and it's this time of year that we set and look at the budget for next year and what initiatives we're going to put our resources in terms of human resources. So new programs, new initiatives won't start until August or September.
Right. Right, because because I'm right there, right, and there's no guarantee that I'll be there next
Well,
that's for the budget.
Again, you need to be fairly certain that you can. You don't have to start the actual work of the consultancy right now, but you have to have a pretty good idea of what it's going to be and if you're going to be there.
Okay.
And that's why I say we try to get people to avoid public schools because of the bureaucracy.
Oh yeah, it can take a long process sometimes.
And most nonprofits are much easier to work with in terms of the process to get partnered with them and get started. And they don't operate the way public schools do. Basically, public schools only start new initiatives in the fall of the year. And if you miss that cycle, you got to wait to the next cycle. And a lot of times the initiatives are a 1 year only kind of thing. And then with local money, with local school money, you do a new initiative every year. It's called Closing the Gap is what you're talking about. Every public school in North Carolina is required to look at their data and do a yearly Closing the Gap program with some subgroup of kids, but they start a new one every fall. That's not the same one every year. It's not a continuation. The district has initiatives that might last for years, like Reading 360 or something like that. But the school changes every year its local initiative to close the gap. That's the first thing in the MELS program that I'm department chair of. That's the first thing we teach the folks who are trained to be principals. That's the first thing we teach them is that Closing the Gap program, the process of putting together a PLC, looking at their data, defining what program they want to run this year. But it's only a yearly thing. Next year, we'll do the same process and run a different one. Try to move through the different subgroups. The programs only last 1 year. And that's why I said you want to avoid the public school.
Yes.
You're going to run, they've already run the one this year. They're not starting anything new.
Right.
They'll go through the budget process, identify, and when they get their data in from testing this spring, they'll look at their gaps, they'll form their PLC, they'll look at their budget, they'll finalize within their budget this summer what their initiative is going to be in the fall. They'll start it in August or usually September before they can start, because public school doesn't come back in session until the 25th of August. Sometime in September, they'll start their new initiative that you're talking about, working with the subgroups. That will be run in the fall. Generally, it continues early spring.
Right.
And then it's over with.
Right.
And then next year, we do the same thing again.
Okay.
To try to close the gap with different subgroups.
Okay.
And so the very nature of how that works doesn't really work well with consultancy, in that we want you to start something now that you will follow through with for the entire time that you're in the program, where you don't have to stop and start all the time. Spend all the time getting permissions. You're always in the implementation.
I think your volume went down.
Do what?
I think your volume went down.
I'm probably I leaned back.
Okay, it's better now.
I'll make sure my volume's still up. All right. So again, if you had like a grant in a public school that was a 3-year grant initiative, those work pretty good. But specifically what you were talking about is Closing the Gap programs. And I'm very familiar with those, having run a number, and we train our students to do that. It's the first thing they get trained to do. So that's usually where we take volunteers, is in those Closing the Gap, because that's a local initiative. The school has to pay for it and come up with the resources themselves. Now, grant programs, you have to be written into the grant. So if you got in on the ground floor of a grant that was starting this fall, that would be good, because that would be 3 years.
Okay.
If you can get in on one of those that's going to last the entire time of your consultancy, that's perfect. Dr. Stedman that works with me, he has some students that partner with him in communities and school grants, 3-year community and school grants, where they do much of the work that you're talking about, but it's on a grant where people get paid. And you can volunteer to work on one of those. They'd love to have you.
Okay.
But generally, those are, you got to be in on the ground floor of the planning part of one of them to make sure that you've got a part in it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you just sign on for one of those grants, you're just basically the help. You're not really learning. You're not really leading.
Right.
You're just a worker bee. And that's kind of not the point of the program.
Right.
All right. So that's a good question. So Donald, are you at brunch right now, Donald?
I am at 5 Church down in Uptown.
At 5 Church? Now, which school are you representing in the CIAA?
So we used to be, North Carolina Central used to be a part. Now we're in the MEAC. But I'm from close to Charlotte, from Charlotte.
It's a party anyway, I know.
Oh, shame on that Ram shirt.
Winston-Salem State?
Oh, sure, in the t-shirt. What t-shirt says?
Oh, yeah, I was at the game when the men lost. Your men lost at Elizabeth City State. Sorry, Tawanda.
Donald had to get that in.
I did.
All right. All right. Any other questions about? That's a great question, Gary.
Okay.
Those are some of the things that you got to work through. That's a
Yeah.
perfect question. You want to
Because
get involved in something that's ongoing, that you're kind of in the initial stages of it, the planning part.
Mm-hmm.
The jumping on later on kind of thing, you end up just being a helper rather than a leader.
Yeah.
So that's the deal with that. So I'll schedule us a time 4 weeks out. I'll inform you of that time, and when we get back again, I'll send this video out. But when you folks are next in class, make sure that everybody understands what we've covered today, and that we're going to come back in 4 weeks, and we'll expect you to have partnered or know who you're going to partner with and what their significant need is in terms of what purpose you're going to serve with them, what you're going to expect to do with them. That should be reasonable. We should be able to do that in 4 weeks. All right. I see my time is up. I told you I didn't keep you but 30 minutes on Saturday. I appreciate you joining me today. I'll get this video out in a few minutes as soon as it processes. Again, I'm always available. And so just let me know, and we will, we should be able to be successful in this consultancy. I appreciate your time today, Donald. Don't have too big a time now. I don't want to have to come get you out of the drunk tank anymore.
Oh, we have accountability partners.
Very good. That's a good idea. I'll see y'all soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lamb.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.